The information that we're presenting today is for educational purposes and should not be taken or considered as legal advice. The two presenters we have today are Paul O'Reilly with Shulman Rogers and Efrat Merritt with Corporate Payroll Services. Paul has been a trusted advisor for almost 30 years to his clients. He represents a lot of companies like you guys, small startup companies, as well as some larger companies. He works with his clients to understand their processes, their goals, and also trying to help minimize their costs. Efrat has been with Corporate Payroll Services since 1999, and she's held many roles with us. She has been in our payroll operations, she has managed our payroll operations, and she's also been in our technology, our information technology section as well. Most of you obviously know that we do payroll services at Corporate Payroll. Some of the other services we provide that you may not be aware of are Come Aboard, which is our HR onboarding system, which is an online employee onboarding platform. And we have Net Clock-In, which is also an online attendance system. We also offer a variety of other things like retirement, workers' compensation, group health, telemedicine, things of that nature. If you're interested in any of those services, please contact your payroll specialist. So now I am going to turn our presentation over to Paul. Good morning, Paul.
Efrat.
Paul, we can hear you now.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. Thank you for having me, Efrat. The wonderful world of the SBA. This is an interesting time for a lot of small businesses, obviously trying to keep their doors open, keep their employees fully employed, and find some relief, because this is going to continue for some period of time. The programs that the SBA has unfolded to try to help small businesses would be the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL, and the Paycheck Protection Program loans. So the most popular is the latter, but I wanted to go through both of them and cover the details. So we can go to the next slide. I don't know if that's working. Here we go. Hold on. All right. So many people have read about these loans in trade magazines, with blogs, in the newspaper, and the only thing they're certain of is that no one is certain. So, because the rules are changing constantly. And in fact, I was on a webinar last week, and during the middle of the webinar, the rules had changed. So I had to log in and send some emails saying I now stand corrected. So here's what we know as of today. The EIDL is a $2 million loan, and there's a forgiveness period of a minimum of 6 months. It could be up to 4 years, and the loan term is up to 30 years. So generally, they're not going to go 30 years. You're going to find somewhere between the 10 to 15. If you are a for-profit business, the interest rate is 3.75, and if you are a nonprofit, it's 2.75 per annum. Next slide. So many small businesses are covered. Like I said, profits, not-for-profits, cooperatives, independent contractors. The key is to make sure you are qualified as a small business, and that's what we've been helping our clients just as a threshold inquiry, because there are a lot of people applying to SBA lenders, and they're finding that they are not eligible because they don't fall within the SBA guidelines. Next slide, please. Right. So one of the one of the interesting things about this program is when you apply directly to the SBA, and on their website, there's a box that you can check to ask for a $10,000 grant. So even if your application is denied, you still get to keep the $10,000. So, and the difference between the EIDL and the PPP, the EIDL, there's no personal guarantee up to $200,000. There's no forgiveness in this loan, whereas the PPP, you do have forgiveness of a certain amount of money, hopefully up to all you borrow. And then there is a waiver of principal, interest, and fees for at least the first 6 months. You get up to maybe 4 years, depending on your circumstances. And eventually you will have to pay it back. But the key component for the EIDL, and a lot of my clients who are using that, are those who have to get some funds to buy inventory, to buy new technology so that they can work remotely with their employees. A lot of people are not set up for that, and it's damaging their business. So you can use it for payroll and sick leave and things like that you can that the PPP is covered, but you can't double dip with the programs. Next slide, please. All right. So to finish off with the EIDL before we go into the PPP, the PPP you can apply for generally if you received an EIDL loan between January 1st and April 3rd, you can roll that into the PPP program. After that, the rules don't allow it. They may modify that, but it hasn't changed yet. All right, so let's go to the Paycheck Protection Program, which seems the most people are most interested about. So currently, the program has allotted $349 billion, which frankly, there's not a lot of money given the high number of small businesses in our country that need it. The Treasury Department is talking about adding 200 to 250 billion to the program. Most of the people in this field believe that's going to happen, but again, right now it's limited to 315 billion, and it's on a first come, first served basis. Next slide. So part of the qualifications that we help our clients go through is determine before you even apply and spend a lot of time and money and get assistance, do you qualify as a small business? So right now it's 500 employees or fewer. If you have more than 500 employees, then you have to go to other calculations based on the SBA tables. And if you don't fall within the table, there's a third option under whether you could be qualified as a small business concern. And these are all legal options. Some people are applying, and because they're not putting in the proper information or haven't done the proper analysis, they're just getting denied out of hand. Next slide, please. So again, this applies to hotels, sole proprietors, independent contractors. If you're self-employed, there's one exception under this program. A lot of hotels and restaurants have many locations, usually set up under separate companies. You do not have to aggregate all the employees for the program. So each location is determined differently, and they generally want the number of employees under 200. Next slide. And for nonprofits, right now 501c3 and 501c19 are the two nonprofit organizations that would qualify under the PPP. Next slide. And if you're a tribal business concern, you'll also qualify. Next slide. The certification, and I'm kind of going through this quickly. Corporate Payroll Network will provide this slide for you later so you can access it. I found more people have questions and they want to know this information, but I want to cover it as quickly as possible, and then we can go into a deep dive with questions. So on the certification, the borrower will certify primarily you need this loan due to the coronavirus and the pandemic, and it's grossly impacted on your business, and you're going to be using it for payroll. You can use it for your rent, and you can use it for interest on debt obligations and interest on mortgage if you don't have rent, but you're paying, you own the building and you're paying for the mortgage. So you'll certify that you're going to be using that, and then this is important for your analysis later on the loan forgiveness. Of course, you have to be in existence as of this year, 2020, as a corporate entity, or at least as a business. Next slide. All right, so this is where there's vast confusion amongst a lot of borrowers and even the lenders. So the maximum amount under the program is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. And it's capped at $10 million. And again, if you received an EIDL loan, you could wrap this into the program, which is important because of the loan forgiveness and because of the no personal guarantee here and no collateral being pledged and no fees. So the analysis for what constitutes payroll is just not consistent with the lenders. So we have actually gone through 10 different local banks who are also SBA lenders and found the data that they're requesting, it's split 50-50. So some are requiring a calendar year 2019 analysis and with a computation of your payroll from January 1st, 2020 to February 15, 2020. Others are requiring a trailing 12-month analysis. All right, next slide. So this breaks down what is included in your payroll and what is excluded. So, and this is where there's a lot of confusion. I mean, what's included is gross compensation up to $100,000. And that's just salary, wages, commissions, things like that. So, and then over and above that, if as an employer, you're paying retirement benefits, you're paying health insurance for your employees, that gets included in your analysis. So it's over and above the $100,000, but there is a cap on the wages at $100,000. You cannot, originally you could include independent contractors who are more like employees. Now you cannot. Across the board, they have to apply themselves. So what is excluded, a couple different things, if you're a railroad, you pay attention, but generally that's not going to cover. But the employer's contribution to FICA is not included. The employee's contribution would for purposes of your gross salary, but they're under the interim final rules, which were rendered by the SBA on April 2nd. The FICA for employers cannot be included in your calculation. Next slide. All right, again, this covers some of the things for seasonal employees. So if you have that, that computation will be a little bit different. Next slide. All right, so the interest rate, so when the CARES Act came out, the SBA rate was, the cap was 4%. And then at some point it went down to 0.5%. And then there was a big ruckus between the lenders and the SBA, and it was raised to 1%. And then they also changed the term of the loan. So the term originally under the CARES Act was 10 years, and now it's the payback is 2 years. So the proceeds of the loan, again, this is why it's different from the EIDL. The proceeds for the loan, very limited. Payroll costs, your insurance premiums, unless they're covered by some other program, as well as the payroll, leave, retirement benefits, rent, and interest on mortgage, and then any utilities you're paying for your business. So that is the money that you are loaned by the SBA lenders 75% of that loan amount has to be covered in payroll. And then the other 25% are for non-payroll expenses. And that's part of the forgiveness program. Next slide. Again, maturity date, initially 10 years, now 2 years. Next slide. So under the CARES Act, the lenders were to provide a complete payment deferment for all principal and interest, again, for at least 6 months, not more than a year. They're all looking at 6 months. Every SBA lender that I've spoken to, they'll give the deferment for 6 months. Then they're not going to go for over a year. Next slide. All right, so this is one of the things that is different from the EIDL in that there are no personal guarantees on whatever you're loaned, whereas the EIDL, no personal guarantee up to $200,000, and there'll be no collateral pledged. Next. All right, so the loan forgiveness, again, as I said, 75% of the loan has to be attributed to payroll, and then the other 25% to non-payroll costs, rent, utilities, and interest. And if you don't do that, then the loan forgiveness will be reduced proportionately. Next slide. And this gives you some mechanism for how the SBA lender will reduce the loan forgiveness. So if you use your amount consistent with their protocols, then the entire amount will be forgiven. If you don't, it gets reduced, and whatever that delta is, you'll have to pay that back within 2 years at 1% interest. Next slide. Again, so this is the more of a mechanism about how the loan forgiveness is going to be calculated by the SBA lenders, and they're going to be very careful in watching to make sure that this is done properly. And they're only looking for an 8-week period. So even though you're getting 2.5 times, so basically 2.5 months of your average monthly payroll, they're only going to forgive 8 weeks. So they're going to encourage people to bring all the employees back. And this is really what it is to encourage full-time employment. So again, so the calculation will be based on the period from loan origination to 8 weeks forward. So, and most people think that this may change because this pandemic doesn't look like it's going to be over by June 30th, which is what they were forecasting. Next slide. And so this again goes through some data about the reduction and layoffs of employees and bringing back full-time before June 30th. So again, you want to be very careful, and we counsel our clients about the data that needs to be collected and receipts and full backup. A lot of small businesses that you're just interested in staying in business, and they don't collect the data that's necessary. And if you don't, then your loan's going to be reduced. Next slide. Again, how we've been helping our clients. We've been helping them from start to finish, from analyzing eligibility. If they're not eligible for an SBA loan, then we look to the state to see what state grants or loans are available for them, to see whether they'll qualify for that, because they don't want to go down the road and feel that they're going to get this SBA loan and then get rejected 2 to 3 weeks, because the loan process is taking a while. So we will then go through the application, make sure that the analysis is done properly, get it submitted, and then once get the documents together that's going to be requested as a backup. We provide checklists to our clients to make sure that they have that data. And then once the lender reaches out, each lender is a little bit different with the documents that they're requesting. There's a core set of documents that everybody wants, and then the rest varies from lender to lender. but they have their own internal checklist. They want to make sure that they've covered every possible document that would support your payroll, support your request. Because again, they don't want to run afoul of SBA guidelines, because this loan is 100% backed by the federal government. And if they don't follow the rules properly, they may not get compensated by the SBA. Next slide. There's our beautiful building. We're in Potomac, Maryland. And Shulman Rogers has been around for well over 40 years, and is highly regarded both regionally, nationally, and internationally. So, next slide.
Thank you, Paul. So from Corporate Payroll Services, we can help you gather the information you need to apply for the loan. So as Paul mentioned, your lenders are going to require some information in order to calculate payroll costs. What you're looking at now is our emergency loan calculation report input screen. So for the check date fields, it currently defaults to the 12-month look-back period. So we have it set to April 1st, 2019 to March 31st of 2020. But your lender, again, like Paul mentioned, might want a look-back, might want a report for January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019. So you would just make those changes there. Then you would go down to your pay types for calculating earnings button, and that will be able to pull up a list of the pay types that you currently have set up, so you can exclude other pay types that should not be included in there. We do exclude 1099 and expense reimbursements at the moment, but you can also you'll be able to see each one detailed out. In addition to that, the last three fields, input fields, you're able to enter in any additional benefits paid by you, the employer. So I believe, as Paul mentioned, employer portion paid towards the group health plans, and then also employer's portion towards retirement plans can be factored into your payroll costs. If you currently have retirement plans through us, we will calculate that. But again, if you have to end up making an additional amount during your audit period, you just can enter in extra amounts in these input fields. If you go to the next slide, this is a sample report of what you can expect. The total earnings column will show you the total earnings for that time period specified. There'll be a column for eligible earnings, which is capped at the 100,000 salary mark. Then the following columns will be based on what you've provided to us. So if you have healthcare benefits that you've entered, that would be provided there. Retirement benefits, either if it's run through payroll, would be factored in this column, or any values that you enter. The state unemployment insurance that you've paid on payroll, we have that information, so we'll be able to populate that for you. If you pay anything additional outside of state unemployment insurance to state or local governments, then you would be able to manually enter that here. So it will give you an active employee count, and then we'll have a total cost column there. Over on the bottom left side, you'll notice the earnings broken down by each pay type. So you'll see what the included pay types are and then what the excluded pay types are. Some lenders might want to see the total earnings broken down by the different types of pay, and that's where you can find that. All right. And again, this is available to online users. You do have access to it online under the miscellaneous reports option. If you do not have access to online, just feel free to call your payroll specialist, and a copy can be emailed to you right away. Thank you. I think we can go into your questions now. I'll let Juanita read over. So we've been getting some submissions. So I'll go ahead.
Thank you so much, Efren and Paul. We'll go ahead and get to some of the questions here. And I'll try to get through all of them if our time permits. The first question I have is a point of clarification. Employees' retirement contribution can be added to the salary?
That's correct. Just a quick comment, Everett, that payroll service that you're providing to the small businesses is critical. I mean, not a lot of payroll services are doing that. A lot of businesses don't have access to that kind of information. And that's the kind of data that the lenders are looking for to expedite your loans. So it's very helpful. And those people who haven't used it, you really should make sure you cross-reference the data that you've compiled with that analysis. Anyway, so the answer is yes, you add your retirement benefits.
Okay. Our next question is, are you finding lenders requesting financial information outside of what the SBA requires on the PPP application?
Yes, they are. So they are, they're trying to determine also if you are, for example, if your principal residence is not in the United States, you can't be counted for that payroll analysis. And there are a lot of small businesses, whether they're private equity or venture capitalists or financial companies, where they do have employees who live outside the United States, and they didn't realize that they couldn't include them in the calculation, but they can't. So there are lenders who are asking for that data just to make sure that all your employees do live in the United States. So there are some, and not all of them, but some of them are.
Okay. We have a user who has applied for their EIDL loan online. It only took 10 minutes and it required minimal information. What can this user expect? When can they expect a response, and what would be requested next?
All right. So if the user also checked the box for the grant, they're supposed to get back to you within 72 hours on the grant. With the application period, the SBA is swamped. They've never experienced this type of onslaught of applications, and their technology is really taxed to the limit. So I wouldn't expect an immediate response. You should get a fast response on the grant. The application itself, some lenders are saying it's up, from application period to funding could be 4 weeks. It could take up to 10 business days for them to even get back to you on the loan itself.
Thank you for that. Does a nonprofit that relies on contributions need to show a reduction in gifts to qualify for the PPP?
The PPP is for salaries. So you're certifying that your business has been impacted. You can say that you could use an analysis. Last year we were at this, this time, our contributions were X, now they're Y. You just want to show some objective criteria how you've been impacted. And that varies from business to business. We've had several businesses, some relying solely on commission and sales, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to prove the impact on their business by this disaster.
Okay. Similar to the first question about employee retirement, can the employee's monthly retirement contribution be part of the 75% requirement?
Yes, it's part of your payroll.
Okay. Next question is, how would you approach a landlord who sent you a notice saying pay rent or quit? He went further to say that legal action will be taken to evict you and recover their rent. What is the best way and the right words to address such a letter?
All right. Well, first you want to address it carefully. So in this area, for example, there are no evictions taking place. The courthouses are closed. So for someone to threaten a lawsuit that they're going to evict you, that's really disingenuous. Certainly the response is you've been impacted, by this by this issue with all the closings and all the social distancing and the sheltering in place. And now that you're applying for a loan, and look forward to working with you to address the issue.
Okay, we have a business in North Carolina who wants to know who they can reach out to for state financial assistance.
For state financial assistance, so first I would look to your county. So most counties have websites with coronavirus information, loans, grants, what's going on in the county, and then they should have links to the state as well.
Okay. We have a customer who has been paying their staff even though the staff cannot come to work. Will the PPP loan, my PPP loan has been applied for but not yet funded. Are you saying that the dollars that have already been paid cannot be part of the PPP loan calculation?
The loan forgiveness, correct. The loan forgiveness starts from origination and then 8 weeks forward. There's no look back period on that for the forgiveness.
Okay. This other customer, my bank is only doing online applications. I signed up and I'm awaiting email so I can apply. The bank says they have a high volume and are not taking any more applications. Can I use another bank?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had technical difficulty applying with the SBA?
For these loans or just in general?
That I'm going to say for these loans because that's not indicated here, Paul.
Okay, so for these loans, for the EIDL is directly to the SBA. And when they open their portals for the EIDL, their website crashed. All right, so they had so many applications. So there is some technical issues that's going on with the SBA. They're working furiously to get it done. They were under a lot of pressure to open their doors to help people, and they realized that they may not have been fully ready. And with the rules and with guidance, a lot of lenders, in fact, wouldn't even do business on the PPP program until they had better guidance. So the SBA is struggling. This is a moving target right now with the rules. Right now we have interim rules from the SBA. We have some rules from the Treasury Department. There's a little conflict between them. I think they're working that out. But it's, panic is, a lot of small businesses are panicking because they're not getting a response either from the SBA or under the EIDL or from the SBA lenders. As long as you have your application in, and it's been submitted, now you're not gonna hear from them for at least a week.
Okay. As you can see, anybody who's looking at their screen, I did change the slides. We had a couple of people wanting to know if they have your contact information. So anyone who's looking to contact Paul directly for hire, as question was posed, and here's his contact information. Anyone who's needing to speak with the branch, you typically would have your payroll specialist phone number. If not, then Effort's contact information is here as well. The next question is, can a nonprofit chamber of commerce apply for the PPP?
If it's a 501c3, the answer is yes.
Okay. Does the business have to provide proof of lost revenue for the 8-week time period that they have the loan forgiven? To have the loan forgiven. So
they've already applied, they've been approved, they've certified that they've been impacted. And then from loan origination to 8 weeks, they just need to collect the data as to what they've been paying and how they've been using the loan, and to make sure it's consistent with the uses that we've discussed earlier.
Okay. Will it expedite at all if you apply for the PPP with a lender that you already have a relationship with?
Not really. Some lenders, they're just doing their best. I think it's helpful if you can pick up the phone and speak to your lender so that he or she can maybe advise you as to the status of your application, maybe let you know who's working on your application, if they can give you the heads up about what data they're looking for so that you can make sure that you're compiling the right data. I mean, we have a good idea of what all the lenders are looking for. So we're advising our clients about the core data that we want them to collect. And that way, if there's something else that's extra, that it's easy for them to pivot to get that information so that we don't slow things down. Because the longer it takes you to get the information to your lender, the longer the process for getting approved and getting an SBA funding number.
Okay. If when applying for the EIDL, you also applied for the grant at SBA.gov and it's been longer than 72 hours, is there a place that they can check for status?
No, they're not set up for that right now. So they're supposed to get back to you on the grant in 72 hours. So the application itself, again, it's fluid. It could be 5 business days, it could be 10 business days before they get back to you. But at least on the grant, when you check the box, you're supposed to know within 3 business days. So unfortunately, if you go to their website, there really is nothing that allows you to check.
Okay. My next question is a clarification. So paying employees currently will not count towards loan forgiveness with the PPP. It starts once you actually receive the loan. Correct.
Whatever you pay from the origination, the receipt of the loan, 8 weeks forward, that's your forgiveness period.
Okay. And next to the last question, do you anticipate the loan forgiveness part of this to be even more difficult than the application process, or would it automatically happen?
No, it's not going to automatically happen. It's going to take a while. The better prepared you are, the faster you'll get a response. Obviously, that's what we're getting our clients ready now, and say, don't. This is what you need to do. We're on the phone with them constantly. Get this ready, get that ready. Be prepared. Make sure you have copies of everything, things like that. So even with all that in preparation, when you submit it, it's going to take a while. It's in the SBA lender's best interest to get this done and get it to the SBA as quickly as possible. But with the number of loans, it's just unprecedented. So it is taking some time. And that's creating anxiety both in the application process, and it's going to carry through to the forgiveness process.
Okay. If you applied for the PPA, can you also apply for the EIDL?
Yes, like I said, as long as you're not double dipping. So you want to, if you're using the EIDL for things other than what is being deducted under the PPP, not a problem.
Okay. And I thought I was at the last question, but I have 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap things up. One question is, for franchise owners, do they have to do anything different in this process?
You're going to have to produce a lot more information. So you'll need to get more documents together. That's one of the questions on the new application. Yeah. So the application went through, I believe, 3 iterations, and the final one asks whether you're a franchise. And then, I'm sorry, thought I deleted it. And if you're a franchise, you'll check the box, and then they'll want more data on your franchise.
Okay. And the last question that we'll have time for is, can one apply for the grant portion only?
No, you're applying for a loan, and if you don't get the loan, you still get to keep the grant, but you can't just apply for the grant.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm going to ask this last question. I know I said that 2 times already, Paul. This will be it. If you don't use all the money for the included items, can you return the excess?
Yes, you can pay it back. There's no prepayment penalty. That's a great thing about it. So if you don't use it all, pay it back, and it'll be done.
Okay. Well, I want to thank both Paul and Everett, and as well as all of our customers. Paul, we appreciate you partnering with us. Customers, we appreciate your business. If there's additional information that you need, Shulman Rogers, Paul's information is here, as well as Everett. I definitely appreciate your time and your energy into doing this presentation for our customers. We definitely appreciate the guidance. There's so much that changes from day to day. There's been a couple of responses. I'm not sure if you read the chat, but there's also been a couple of customers who also reached out to say thank you to both of you for presenting this information to us today.
So we're glad to help. If you have any questions or you want to reach out, email is probably the best. We're working remotely as well, as you can probably tell from the from this Zoom. So the computer or phone is not always that reliable. So thank you very much for having us, and we think at this time it's good that people like Corporate Payroll Services are providing this service to work with their customers.
So, well, thank you again, everyone, and have a fabulous day.
Thank you.